All right, everyone, let's get started. Please download Laboratory 8. As you see here, we are going to learn how to write the loops in today's class. In Lab 6, we learned how to write the sequence, like the instructions one by one. And in Lab 7, we learned how to use the conditional selections, right? How to use the if keywords to write some statements. Into this class, we use a Cternal controlled repetition. First, please run the first script to identify your host name, your username, and the kernel information. And please input your full name, a number, and the date. Okay, so let's get started. Actually, today we are going to learn the program flow controls. It's called controlled repetition, or it can be called a structured for loop or while loop. So it's a diagram about this repetition. So first you need to write a condition, like the condition. If this condition is satisfied, it will get started, and then execute the loop body and do one more test condition. If it is true, do that again, do the loop again. If it's false, the loop will end. Okay, so the loop control is based on the value of what we're processing. So Cternal controlled repetition is used. It's also called indefinite repetition because it's not known in advance how many times the loop will be executed. So the biggest difference between the Cternal you don't see the image, or you mean you cannot see the image from my screen or from your notebook? So if you double click, you can see the resources, right? But you cannot see the images on your own notebook. Do you mean? Let me check. I think this is this link. Okay. Okay, so I think this the resources of this figure is works. Maybe I think, could you please, maybe you can restart the kernel? I'm not sure. Any other guys? Do you have the similar situation? Cannot see the, does anyone have the same problem? Okay, works fine for you. Yeah, no, maybe I'm not sure, because for some time, for me, in some situation, I cannot see the images, but yeah, there are some bugs. I am not sure. So I suggest maybe you can restart the kernel, or you can maybe perhaps maybe it would be a good idea to like insert a local image, not the resources from the internet. For example, here they are all from the internet, right? So if you want to insert some images, it would be better to insert them from your local machine, so from maybe your desktop, your downloads folder. It's fun for the lab classes, but maybe perhaps you need to do that during the exams or the projects or the final projects. If you have this problem, please consider to use. Okay, sure. Yeah, maybe I don't know. It's weird because sometimes the Anaconda have some bugs. Yeah. Try to restart the kernel, or I'm not sure what's wrong. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue. Next one is a repetition procedure for solving a problem by using a internal value. It's also called a signal value or dummy value or flag value. Actually, the flag is widely used. We call it a flag value, or it's internal value, okay, to indicate the end of the process. It's very important. In most cases, the loop body is very easy to write, but the how to set the flag value or how to set the end process is more important, and it's harder to write. External value that need not be a part of the processor data. One common example of using it when processing from a file, we don't know if it can reach the end of the file. Okay, so yeah, so actually we used both for keyword or while keyword loops, but while loops is more common because in most cases when you use the for loop, you know how many times you want to run, right? But when you use a while loop, you don't know how many times you need to run in advance. Okay, so and in today's class we learn how to use while loop, and in next class we learn how to use the for loop. Okay, structured while loop. So while loop repeats a block of instructions inside the loop while a condition remains true. Here is a remains true, not a word, remains true. And then here's the syntax. So while condition is true, then please make sure here there's an indentation, right? Indentation execute 1, B, A, and B is a body, right? And after that, please remove the indentation. And it's similar with if keyword, right? You need to use a colon and the indentation again. All right, so let's see some concrete examples. The first one, we set a counter, all right? So first one, we declare one variable named the counter, and the counter is also called internal value or signal value or flag value, okay? For now, it's a counter. And while the counter is greater than 0, then print out the value of the counter and then do the decrement, okay? So we write, see the first one, the first loop, right? So first one, the value is 5, and then test the condition 5 is greater than 0, then begin the loop, print out the value, print out counter is 5, and then -1, then counter would be 4, right? And then come back again to check if 4 is greater than 0 or not. It's true, right? 4 is greater than 0, it's true. So do the loop again. It's a 4, and the third loop is a 3, fourth loop is a 2, and the last loop here, counter is 1. 1 is greater than 0, then print 1, right? And after that, 1 minus 1 is 0. So, so after the fifth loop, counter would be 0, and the 0 is not greater than 0. So the result here is it's not correct, right? So it's a false value, and after that, the result would be 0, right? Here is the false. Then the loop will end. That's why here is the only 5 times, right? 5 times for the loops, for the loop. Okay, please write. It's a simple structure about the loop, right? The loop while loop is a decrement skip if equal in lower level languages, right? Decrement skip if equal. Here skip when it is 0, right? Next structure also while loop is an increment skip if greater. Actually, it's not a skip if greater. It's also skip if equal. Skip increment skip if equal structure. And we will design another one. It's called increment is greater, skip if greater. Okay, so let's check this one first. First, we need to declare one variable named 0, right? Counter 0. And then while counter would be smaller than 5. And please ignore the comments for now. And after that, print the counter, the value of the counter, and then do the increment, right? Right. So you see here, counter would be 0, counter would be 1, counter would be 2. And when counter is 4, it's still smaller than 5. So the condition is true, right? And do one more loop. After that, plus 1, then it is 5. So test the condition again. So 5 is not smaller than 5. So it's equal to 5. So that's why here is false. So the loop will end. So that's why the last one would be 4. And please do more experiments. Please copy this one and then paste on your own, paste on another cell and do that again. So please change this line to the counter smaller and equal to 5. And then change this line to this way. Okay, please do that on your own computer, on your own notebook, and test this example again. All right. So it is this structure is called increment skip if greater structure. So you see, if the counter would be 6, then the loop will end. So that's why the last printed counter would be 5, right? Because here skipped if greater, right? Okay, so it's a quite. Please be careful. Yeah, please be careful because it's very easy to have some wrong cases. For instance, if you are not sure, you need to use smaller than or equal to. It's very tricky, right? So please run this and show your result. Show your result when you submit your work. Okay. And here, let me show you one more cases. You don't need to do that. Just check my screen. So if I put the counter before print, so what's the difference? For now, counter will be printed from 0 to 4, right? If I move this counter from the bottom to the first, run again, so the result would be from 1 to 5. Okay, so it's different, right? Because at first the initial value would be 0, but when it enters the loop, it will do the increment. So the first element would be 1, right? See, here is the 1, and then at last would be 5. Because 4 is a 4, and then it is a 5, print out 5, and then 5 is not equal to 5. So that's why the last loop will be 5. Okay, so please make sure you understand. Sorry. In this way, it will be from 0 to 4, and in this way is 1 to 5. Okay, it's very important. All right, so that's the first 2 examples. Any questions so far? Okay. Okay, next one we will learn the continuous statements. Continue is very, very important. And the next one is about the break. So they are similar, but there's a big difference. So let's check. The continue instruction skips the block of code after it's executed for that iteration. So here's the example. First one here, we declare 2 variables I and j, and we create a new while statement, right? I is smaller than 5, and I plus 1, j plus 2, and print the result. And if j is 6, if the value of j is 6, then continue. Continue means it will skip the last line of the code and do the next iteration. Okay, so let's see the result. So first, I is 0 and j is 0, right? So, and it is true. So the first loop, I would be 1 and j would be 2, and print out. And j is not 6, right? So it will not perform continuous statements. So it will perform the next one, print this message will be skipped over j is 6. And the second loop, and for now, j is 1, so j is still smaller than 5. So the second loop, I is 2, j is 4, and the print out again. And for the third loop, j is 6, right? So if the value of j is 6, so it is true, then it will perform continue. Continue means it will skip all the codes in this iteration. So it will skip this print statements. So there's nothing printed out, right? But it will not end the loop. It will continue the next loop, next iteration. Next iteration would be I is 4 and j is 8. So it will print them again. So here you see there are 5 loops, 5 times. The loop will continue 5 times. And four of the 5 they are normal, but only the third loop, it will only print out the value of I and j, not this one, right? So let me do one more experiment. So if we print attention, do that again. Run again. So you see, for the first loop, they are all printed out, right? For the second one, it's normal, but for the third one, it will not print this line, but also all the codes after this continue. Okay, it will not print all the not only print, it will perform any codes after the continue in that iteration, but only for that iteration. Okay, right again. So you see the first example, and next one, let's check out. Next one, the only difference, all other things are exactly the same, but the only difference here, we use a break to replace the continuous keyword. We use break, right? Use break. So let's check out. So the result there are only 3 loops. So when you see break, when it performs break statement, it will end the loop. It will skip all the codes for that iteration, and it will end all the loops. Okay, so that's the biggest difference. So it means when you see break, when you perform break, it will end the iterations, end the while loops immediately. Not the code, not the following code, no more iterations. Okay, so that's the only difference. If you check the results, you can check the results here, right? If you use continue, it will perform 5 loops. Only for the third loops, it will skip some code. But if you use the break, it will end at the third iteration. Okay, so it's very, very important. So please understand what is the continue and what is the break statement. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, next one is about the try and except structure. It's also very important. It's very useful for trap some errors, help you to debug your codes. An important control structure is the try and except statement. Statement controls how programs proceed when an error occurs in an instruction. Trap like errors, so some common errors like divided by 0, wrong kind of input, and let the program keep running, and at least issue meaningful messages to the users. the syntax would be try and do something, except do something if do something returns an error. So if something happens, it will perform the next one. It perform this except. Okay, so here's an example. First one, you see x and y is 12, right? So if we write this way, x is an integer, but if we use the decimal point, x is the float, y is a float, right? And y, when y is greater than or equal to minus 12, then try to do that, try to print this way, print x, the value of x and the value of y, and the value of x divided by y, right? And then if there are some errors, then print float division by 0, and then do the minus, do the decrement by 1, right? So let's see the result. The first one, you see x is 12, y is 12, and x divided by y is 1.0. And then for the second loop, it still works, but after y is 1. So when y is 1, x divided by y is 12, right? And after that, y minus 1. So in this line, y would be 0. Then if you want to calculate x divided by 0, then it's not meaningful, right? So that's why here it will throw out an error, and then it will perform the statement under except. That's why here print out float division by 0. And after that, this program will proceed until it finished. Okay, so that's why here y is minus 1, and do that again. So finish this while loop. Okay, it's pretty useful. Let's check out the comparison, right? So here, let me show you what's the difference. Let's check these two codes. Definition is the same, right? While is the same, but the only difference is we don't use the try except structure in a second cell. We just want to print the value of x, value of y, and the value of x divided by y, and do the decrement again. So it's the same. Let's try. So you see, the first 12 loops, they are exactly the same as the first one, right? But when y is 0, it will give you the error, right? So it will, you see this arrow means this line have some error, and then the error type is the 0 division error, float division by 0. So it's an error, and after that it will stop. This program will stop. Okay, so it will not proceed. But if you use the try except structure, it will finish, right? It will finish and ignore the error and give you some hint. So here, you know, in this loop there are some special things or weird things. There are some errors. Okay, so that's why we need to use them. We need to use the try except structure. And in another case, so if you are not sure you are writing your code is correct or not, you can use the try and some codes you are not sure, and except print out something, give you some hints, right? You can use this way to make your program run, to make your program keep running. Okay, so you can use this way. So that's why it's very, very important. Okay, so any questions so far for this try except structure? All right. Please leave this error shown when you submit your work. Okay. Here are some documents. If you are interested, you can read more. And the next one is about the exercise, and actually it's a little bit hard. So below the code intends to increment x from 0 to 6 and calculate y use a different method in different between. If x is 0, y should be x. X is 1, y should be x times x. Else y should be x plus 2. Okay. However, there are a few errors with the code. Please fix it and leave the comments to explain your fix. Actually, there are several errors. So I will give you some hint. So please ignore this one. They are correct. They are using to make your code beautiful. This just use the formatting, right? Just you to make the format. And please first you need to check the while statement. Check this condition is correct or not. Okay, so you need to make sure x is from 0 to 6, and the condition is correct or not. X greater than 6 is the correct or not. And second one, indentation here, because you want to use this while statement and use the group of instructions under this while statements, right? That's why here you need to check the indentations of the while statement and the indentations of this else if statement indentations. Very important. And next one, you need to check this place, the place of this one is correct or not, because you need to print out from 0 to 6, right? From 0 to 6. So you need to make sure here is correct, or you need to put it at the bottom of the code. And then you need to check if and else if they are correct or not. All right. And let me show you the result. The result would be looks like this way: x, y, and then from 0 to 6. Please make sure to have from 0 to 6. Okay, let me copy. And for this one, I'm not sure, do you remember this percentage operator? So it's used to do the formatting of one variable, right? F means it's the float number, and then 4 means that you want to keep 4 digits before the decimal point in lab 4 or lab 5. I think it's lab 4, maybe lab 4. Okay, here, do you remember lab 4? Input and output. We learned how to use the dot 3 to print out something, right? Print out to keep the first 3 digits of the decimal point. So if you use this number before the decimal point, it means if it is shorter than 5 digits, it will leave some space, right? So that's why here, if we use 4, we have three spaces, right? 3 spaces before these numbers, including the digits. There are 4 digits, 3 spaces, and 1 number, right? Okay, so it's about the how to get the formatting. All right, so yeah, let me repeat again. Please revise here, whereas the first example and add one more style to change this line to smaller than and equal to 5, and change this line to counter plus equal to 1, and then run all the cells and leave the error shown on your assignment. And then please finish this exercise, and please make sure to submit your work before the end of Friday. Okay. Okay, so if you don't have any other questions, please feel free to leave the meeting. Have a nice day. Can you go over submission for assignment 2? So what do you mean? So you mean the weekly? You mean this one? Okay. I will show, let me just click. Wait a moment, please. So summation. Where is the summation? So can you tell me the number. Question 2. Okay, question 2. Okay. This one, right? Okay. Yeah, so what do you mean by is if this number is lower than 5 and divisible by 2, calculate summation with 4. Yeah, so let me so it means if this number is lower than 5 and number modulus 2 equals 0, it means the divisible by 2, right? And then print number multiply 10. I think it's you can use this way to do that, right? How to calculate the summation with 2? I think it's just you plus 10. Yeah, just a plus 10. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. All right. So any other questions about today's lab? Okay, sure. Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. All right. Since you don't have any other questions, I will stop here and I will post the recordings by tonight. Have a nice day. So if you have any other questions, please send me an email. All right.